Thanks for watching our podcast. Here at Spear Consulting, our services include business strategy and human resources consulting. In HR, we offer executive search, executive coaching, and work psychology consulting. Please visit us at spiritmco.com, where we fulfill our clients' dreams virtuously. Enjoy your show. Welcome to the Leading Virtuously podcast. Today, we are turning the tables and we are interviewing the interviewer, Chris Gomez himself. Welcome to your podcast, Chris.
Yeah, welcome to my podcast. It's really our podcast. So thank you for having me, Hannah. And thank you for all the hard work that you do behind the scenes for the podcast too.
Well, you're very welcome. Today, I get to be in front of the camera, which you know I love doing.
So. And don't mean to cut you off, but just wanted to say how pretty you are. And I'm so blessed to be able to have you as a business partner and as my wife.
Thank you. That's very sweet of you. I feel the same way. You don't look pretty though. You look handsome.
Ooh, thank you. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What's that guy who's like the Latino singer who, I can't.
There's so many. There's Ricky Martin.
No, the bald guy who was like a rapper in
Pitbull?
The Dogs Out. Yeah. Not like I just, that's what I'm trying to put out into the world. I'm just trying
Pitbull?
to be a Pitbull doppelganger. Yeah.
All right. Well, as long as you don't sing like he does, then we're fine. You can look like him. You need the glasses though.
Yes, but no.
Anyway, so I am dying to ask you these questions that I've been wanting to ask our whole marriage. Questions like, why do you wear your pants like that? And what's up with the way that you make the bed? Things like that. And I know that our audience is super excited to hear about all of that. Just kidding. I want to know, the first question is, who are you?
Sure. I always get so, I don't know, I always laugh when I ask people that question because I don't think a lot of people are used to being asked that direct of a question, which just doesn't really seem like it's a too deep of a question, but people, it's funny to see people's responses. So the first and foremost is I bringing out my identity as a beloved son of a king and of God. So from that source and power, I do everything in my life. So I think probably the most important after that would be a loving husband and father of two darling boys that are 8 and 6 years old. I am also the founder and CEO of a management consulting company, Spirit Consulting. And we have roughly about 15 or 16 employees that work for us, and the areas of consulting that we operate within are strategy and human resources. In human resources, that includes executive search, executive coaching, and work psychology. And then, so that's Spirit Consulting. I also founded a nonprofit organization called Catholic Sports Camps, where we serve 400 to 600 kids each summer over 6 different sports camps. And then I serve on the board of directors for another nonprofit called River of Light, and we food rescue 1 million meals per year for the homeless. So that's absolutely incredible. I'm a podcaster, and as you can see back here over my shoulder, I'm a guitarist, and I get to rock out with my beautiful wife doing praise and worship music and all sorts of fun stuff like that.
I think we should insert a picture from your old band days right about here during the podcast.
No, let's refrain from inserting old photos of my tennis.
Great. I feel like this is our first date. This is great. Okay, so that's like the high view. And then I'd love to hear more about your journey. How did you get to this current leadership position that you're in?
Sure. Well, the boy's mom divorced me, and poof, like magic, here I am in the position that I am today.
Oh, okay.
yeah, just trying to make you uncomfortable. But I mean, as you know, so in my 20s, just grew up in a home that had some dysfunctions in it, and that really just kind of like blended over into my leadership style, and into, which also is part of like who I am as a journey. And so that kind of came to a split in my early 30s that resulted in a divorce. And when I hired the attorney that was going to represent me, um, he kind of sold me on saying that it was going to take, 6 to 9 months and about 10,000. Well, it ended up being over 30,000 and over a 2-year process, even though we had just been married for about 4 years. And so really this guy, and like the divorce quickly ended as soon as our mutual bank account had just dwindled down to nothing. And so this attorney was 100% margin over mission. And so that really rocked me to my core, which is really the foundation of our mission at Spirit Consulting, which is to fulfill our clients' wildest dreams while practicing virtuous service, which means that that we do everything with love, and that we have high integrity, and lead with values, which is a little bit different than most organizations. But I also tell that story because, yes, it's the foundation of Spirit Consulting and our mission, but it also is part of my healing journey. So like when I got through that, basically like when the sheriff knocked on my door, it was like an eye-opening moment for me. And anyone that has gone through like major sufferings and trials in life know that it's really an opportunity to either grow or to regress. And for me, I really, like, at that point I was already into the fixed mind, or the growth mind state, where I always wanted to like improve and get better, etc. So I just took it as a learning opportunity. And to encourage myself, I wrote out a list of 20 traits that I was looking for in a future spouse. And I would look at this list from time to time to motivate me, to encourage me that through these hard times, that I knew that there was a greater plan and that it was coming. I just had to be patient and faithful. But then also the challenge as you do that is to then look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, like, am I the man that this person would actually want to be with? And if the answer is no, then you know that you've got growing to do. And so as I started going down the healing journey, I went to different retreats. I've been a part of a men's group for over the last 5 years, and really, like, in doing that accountability work, was able to see the dysfunctions that I had grown comfortable to, and by shedding that, really able to just have outstanding relationships, and to get outside myself and not be the self-centered person that I was, but to really be able to look for the good in all people and find win-win strategies that set me up for the success that I'm in today.
I love hearing your story, even though I've heard it quite a few times. It's beautiful. What do you think you know from your consulting career that most people don't?
So I was ending on that note, and like for the longest time, I really, like, while working for the prior management consulting company that I worked at before launching Spirit Consulting a couple of years back, like, we really just worked within the vertical of executive search, and namely because we may not have had the vision to be able to expand beyond that. But then also, when you're dysfunctional and you're working in a toxic environment, like, people don't want to work with you. And so by being able to get healed and to like have outstanding relationships where you're able to share feedback and to love the other person and recognize that conflict management is just a part of the relationship journey, that allows you to be able to expand into other service lines if the opportunity is there. And so that allowed us to progress beyond just executive search into work psychology, and having a PhD, or two of them actually, that enter into the recruiting process, to give extra data pre-hire and then also to help on the back end of the hire for onboarding. But that also kind of opened my eyes that like, okay, if I could work with these other professionals and bring them into the consulting work that I'm doing, then why can't I do that a couple times? And so that allowed me to kind of like look at my network and see other people that I had been working with or had known previously, and set up other relationships to be able to provide the work psychology, or sorry, the strategy and executive coaching that we're doing beyond just, executive search and work psychology. So that's kind of like one takeaway that I have from that. And then the other one is, I don't know, I was just kind of thinking about this, and I don't know if this is like the most loving thing to say, but I'll just say it. It's like, it's when you're in consulting, I think a lot of consultants will agree to this. It's like we do a lot of the heavy lifting, but then at the end of the project, like the client wants to take all the notoriety for the work. And so that's just kind of a part of the journey of kind of like taking the back seat and being a servant leader and wanting the best for your clients. But that also kind of plays into, especially around like the recruiting phase, like anytime that we have like these high paying positions, like everyone wants to be your friend. But then like 3 months after the search is over, when you call people up to be like, hey, like, we need to take on some new work, would love to kind of partner. It's you can't get anyone to return your call. And I don't know if that's just like human nature of like, people want what's in it for them, but then when that
Yeah.
opportunity passes, then they don't operate the same way.
So what have you learned from that experience that you're able to bring into business and into life?
Well, I think it goes back to my first point, which is you have to just love people, and you have to be different in that way, because like in this society, everyone is so overworked and overscheduled that the first thing, like the easiest thing to basically like trample on are relationships. To just be like, okay, I'm going to reject this person, just invested like 3 hours into this interview process. I'm going to send them some scrappy garbage email that's going to just completely squash their hopes and dreams. And just terrible stuff, instead of like, okay, this person invested the time, I want to set up calls with them, and we're going to be committed to obtaining that feedback, like so I can share feedback from my own interview process, and then for our clients, if I can get feedback from them and be able to give it to the candidate, that's only going to help them to grow within their career, and then also which helps you stand out comparative to other people that aren't loving and aren't as considerate in the process. So I kind of like, I know I've heard someone like kind of like communicate that as like, if you think about baseball cards, the free stick of bubble gum that you get, like everyone is in, especially in executive search, I'm like specifically talking about that versus strategy or the other service lines, but like in executive search, everyone's focus is to fill the job, right? Like if you don't like find a candidate and fill the job, you don't exist in the marketplace. But our free stick of bubble gum is that we're going to do it in a loving way, and we're going to help both the client and the candidate and our vendors and everyone that interacts with us to be able to grow and develop by sharing feedback and telling the truth and doing the little things that is more relationship focused.
So practically speaking, let's say you're stressed out, you got deadlines or whatever that you have, and you need to inform someone that they didn't get a job, let's say, taking your example. How do you not just write that really quick email, and how do you stop yourself and pause and find the time to do that?
Yeah, I mean, tangibly, it's pretty easy. I think there's two ways that I'd go ahead and recommend that you do that. Either A, delegate it to someone else to set up the appointment for you, or B, use a calendar automation tool to send it to them and saying, hey, really want to share feedback. Let's set up a call when you're available. And then that way they have to schedule it for you. And since they are someone who's rejected it doesn't need to be, this is, not one of your highest ranking priorities. And so they can just schedule it at their leisure.
Okay.
And if you don't say that they're rejected, then they're instantly obviously going to follow through to make sure that that call is set up.
Yeah, they'll probably schedule that really quickly.
Correct.
But I would like to, you made a really good point that that people are just overworked and stressed out in our culture. And it's not that they don't want to give you their time. It's just that they're overworked and they're overscheduled. And it made me think of actually today when we were eating lunch earlier together, and I was just tired from the morning, and I just wanted to veg out and not really talk. And I wanted to give you more of my attention and effort and focus, but I just didn't have it in me. So I try to keep that in mind when I'm in business interactions myself, and I'm kind of thrown off by someone's attitude, or they just seem like, they're just not interested in talking to me or whatever, that it might just be something like that they're just tired. It has nothing to do with me. And just to have empathy like that. So anyway, I just wanted to, that just stuck out to me, and I wanted to circle back on that. Similarly, where has business and virtue intersected for you?
Yeah, so I'm a human being, and
You are?
yes.
Oh.
And as I mentioned, like, grew up with a lot of dysfunctions around me. So I feel like there's still a lot of, one of our show guests, Letitia Nicole, to quote her, she's a continual work in progress. Like, I feel that's like such a perfect summary about leadership, because the further that you go in management and leadership, the further you're able to see and see the ways that you aren't really the best leader, that there's opportunities to improve. And so with like virtue in particular, I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's not like I'm always like, okay, let's do the thing that's going to work perfectly for the other person and be like the best strategy ever for all parties. Like, no, I can be very evil and have my struggles too. So there's periods where like I'll start going down the wrong pathway. And then it really requires me to either like, have another person like call me out on that, or to, while kind of like, I think one of the things that I learned too, like, it's just kind of go back to the divorce. I hate, keep hitting the D word, but anyways, is like, I learned that like oftentimes in life, you don't need to have an immediate answer. And so like, it's really great to also hit the pause and be like, you know what, I'll get back to you on that. And so it's like, if you have that heated email where like someone is like, hey, will you do this? Like, how dare she ask me to do that? And is she just out of her mind, crazy, like not even considerate at all of our organization? Like, what this is a weird, it's like you like blah, 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 like, writing just the wrong email, and then like taking that time out to be like, okay, I'm emotional right now. I should not be like writing this email at all. Sorry, someone's bugging me here, shutting that down. So like maybe I should not be sending this email at all in the moment. Maybe I should take that time out to cool down. And it's like, then when you're able to, for me, because I am, a Catholic and a Christian, like that really means prayer for me. But maybe other people that are atheists or don't believe in God, being able to spend that time to, go take a walk, to meditate, to calm down, to get centered again, so that you're not just, taking those actions that are, really self-centered. And so that happens, frequently. And yeah, and I think, honestly, to give you an example, if you're like, okay, well, that's kind of like, can you give me an example of that? So like,
does it involve me?
I mean, yeah, my beautiful wife and darling wife. I think you recognize this frequently, but no, I'm drawing into a business scenario. We had an issue where a candidate, basically 6 months into the job, she was absolutely crushing the position, but due to a family situation, had to opt out. And so because we put a guarantee behind all of our placements for a year if we don't use work psychology, or 2 years if our work psychologist works into the process, we were just not upholding our standard. And so obviously the virtuous thing is to jump back in and do the things that you say that you're going to do. So adhere to the contractual terms. And so we did that. And the second candidate that we ended up getting hired, I think her take home was 20% more than the first candidates. And our contracts are structured on first year's total compensation. So on that basis, I had the legal right to basically ask the client to pay more money. And I did.
And I did.
And I did. Yeah.
We all thought you were going to be like, and I donated it back to I didn't ask for it.
No, I did. I asked her because it was contractual terms. So I felt like, because another thing with, at least for me and as a leader, is to like follow that piece and to follow that, like, that inner dialogue that you have, like, do I feel peaceful about this? And I did, right? I didn't just like immediately go, okay, this person make more money, you need to pay me. It was kind of like, let me think about it. Okay, this makes sense. Let's hit it. So ultimately, but it was in the middle of the pandemic and the client was really struggling, and she was just kind of like left it up to me. Like, our division isn't doing the greatest. I know we've been a long-term client. Contractually, yes, like you can do it, like you let me know, basically via an email. And so I really just kind of like took it to prayer, and I was like, okay, is this what should I do? Really is the question I was asking in prayer. And what came back is like, okay, like, can I provide, like, is your whole future going to rest on this small amount of revenue? And then also, is this client worth it to basically forego it for the future state of the relationship? And the answer was like, yeah, clearly. And so I decided to say, like, you know what, forget it. Like, you guys have been so good to us. I know that there'll be more work, etc. And what was funny about that is, like, I think a month after, we ended up taking 4 additional projects with that specific client, not in that division, but other divisions. But I'm, just kind of like the whole element of just, it's like when you just continually just keep doing the next right thing, just you're just taken care of. So yeah.
It always works out. Yeah. I would love to hear the answer to this next question. What would you say to your 22-year-old self?
I don't know if I would say so much as just like punch him in the head, tackle him, like just.
You realize that would affect you in the future too, especially
yes.
permanent
You
damage.
hit the person, and then you end up just hurting, you feel the pain yourself. But no, I mean, I think we've talked a lot about this in this episode, and I really wanted this to come across, which is like, just get healed. Life is too short to be living in a dysfunctional and toxic way. And if you find yourself speaking negatively about other people, and you find yourself having emotional blowouts a lot, a couple times per month, like, maybe you need to like kind of check yourself to be thinking like, is there something more here? And there's so many beautiful accountability groups, like, Alcoholics Anonymous or Al-Anon, or Adult Children of Alcoholics. Or if you go, that's kind of more slightly on the secular lens, but if you go into churches, then they have either like men's groups or women's groups, etc., where you can just like do life with people and really be able to share what's really going on in your life. Because for me, growing up as an adult child of an alcoholic, like, I hated conflict. Because back growing up with that, whenever there was conflict, it just meant that there was going to be yelling and screaming going on. And so I just avoided it at all costs. But as a leader, good luck trying to avoid conflicts,
Yeah, you know where that's gonna go.
Right. So yeah, so get healed. And I think the second one too, which I didn't really get to talk to a little bit about, was kind of like, through that healing journey, I realized that I was like being the savior to my parents. And that really, like, by being able to get free of that, and to recognize that like they are their own people and they have to take accountability for their own lives, that I don't have to like be their savior. That really freed me up to be able to go off and start this company and do all the amazing things that we're currently doing, which, you know, prayerfully is blessing other people.
Hmm. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to share that we didn't cover?
Yeah, but I think that with the timeline that we have for each podcast episode, I think we've hit it. And I also suspect that I'll probably have more episodes down the road too. But for now, I feel good about where we're at for the episode. Yeah.
Well, Christopher, thank you so much for being with us. It's great to have you on your podcast. And I'll see you in a few minutes at some other meeting.
Great.
And where can people find you?
Yeah, so our organization is Spirit Consulting. You can find us at www.spiritmco.com, as in management consulting organization.com. And then you can find the nonprofit that I founded at www.catholicsportscamps.org. And for the organization that food rescues 1 million meals per year for the homeless, you can find that organization at riveroflightchicago.org. And then you can find me on LinkedIn and all sorts of social media platforms. So look forward to continuing the dialogue with you.
All right. Well, there you have it. We have interviewed the CEO, the interviewer, and my husband, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you, Chris, and we'll see you next time.
Great. Thank you, Hannah.
Hey, Chris here. Hope you enjoyed the episode where we discussed all things going bald. Just joking. The Leading Virtuously podcast. If you enjoyed the episode and the podcast, will you please subscribe on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Spotify? Or you could also share it with a friend. That would be tubular. I hope you have an awesome day.